Hey everybody, how you doing? Looks like we made it to yet another Wednesday. How's everybody doing? I can't believe it. It is Wednesday yet again, you know. We have David and Colette, good to see you. John, Blind Symmetry, good to have you back. Nameless subscriber, so glad to see you. We have John Diekman, Wendy, good to see you, Wendy. What a great group so far. Did I miss anybody? Let's see. So I did say Colette's here, so that's exciting. And let's see. Okay, good, good. Okay, so let's see what we can do. So this is part 2 of painting the beautiful, talented Dua Lipa. Now, John, actually Todd, told me that Dua Lipa is her real name and that her name Dua is Albanian for love. So I thought that was pretty exciting. So thank you so much for that information, Todd. I'm sure he'll be here pretty soon. I have my water. And of course, guys, look at this. This is pretty cool. Let me show you. So, hot off the presses, this is my shirt, and let me see if I have a different angle. No, I guess, let's see. Okay, so here's my shirt. Yes, so, go extreme or go home. It's available on my website, paintingclips.com. It's a limited edition. I'm not going to make many of them. It comes in small, medium, large, extra large. It's $21.95, which is really cool. This is done with sublimation. So it's not an iron-on. It's actually part of the fabric. So this design will, and it's original design by yours truly. And as you can see, does it look familiar, guys? Does it? Huh? Look familiar? Look at that. Look at that. So pretty cool. So you see, it's my Extreme Patriot Arrow, the customized version. So I thought that was really neat. I hope you guys think it's pretty cool as well. Ruth, how you doing? Ruth, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for stopping by. So let's go ahead and make me smaller. And please, right? You're like, please, Tim, smaller. I understand. Let me go put my hose on. And as always, when we're starting, we always want to start with the light mixture, you know, like a relief pitcher. You know, he's always going to start in the bullpen, throwing slow, and then throwing harder, and then facing live pitcher. That's why we always want to start with the light mixture. So let's go ahead and make that happen. And that is my silent air compressor in the background. And it's not too bad. You know, my neighbors said they didn't hear anything. And for me, that's what I want. I don't want to disturb anybody when I am painting. Because I paint all hours of the night because I'm, you know, I'm neurotic. What can I tell you? So, okay, so that is a little bit on the saturated side. So with the magic of whatever it is I'm doing, I could lower that. See that? That was pretty cool. Okay. There we go. Here are my cutouts, as you can see, and I'll put them aside. And then we'll go ahead and we'll start. So John says, are they available on your website? Yes, they are, my friend. Let me see if I can actually, if you go to paintingclips.com, you will see them right there, sir. So let's see, www.paintedclips.com, and only $21.95, and it's a limited edition. Angel, how you doing? ¿Cómo estás? De Puerto Rico. Qué bueno, señor. Boricua. All right. It's good to see you. Lee, how's it going all the way from the UK? So glad to see you. Thank you for losing some sleep to hang out with us today. I am honored, and I don't take that lightly. I really appreciate that. so great to hear. So David, we are making your airbrush as we are speaking today. So I should be sending out your new Extreme Patriot Arrow made to order, and that should be there. I should ship it out by Friday, but I'll email just to make sure, okay? So I'm so glad that you got, and I'm going to throw in, as I always do, whenever someone purchases whenever someone goes ahead and purchases an airbrush, I always throw in some really extra cool goodies with that. And those who know me know that pretty much is my style. And let's see, so light mixture, let's make this happen. Let's see here. All right. Always, whenever you put in the light mixture, you always want to make sure you don't do it near your artwork. Like, oh my God, no, we don't want to do that. We'll do it away. It's like do it away, Tim, like right over here. There we go. Perfect. And so one of the great things about doing this is that, you know, using my ink mixtures is that there's no mediums, there's no reduction. It's just right out of the bottles, light, medium, and dark mixture, and then the white mixture in the beginning. It's really very, very cool. Now I should have some spare, or how should I say, I should have some white paper just to protect my table. Always want to do that. You never want to kill the table, right? You know, don't kill the table. All right. And all right, so let's see, we'll go back to, there we go. Okay, now let's see, any questions? Willie, how you doing? Good to see you, Willie. How are you today? So glad you're here. And name subscriber says, don't know why, but always like looking at your work from the side angle. Thank you, my friend. You know, it's better than saying always like liking my work with sunglasses on in a dark room. That would be bad. I appreciate that, nameless subscriber. Thank you so much. So whenever I go ahead and you know, work for the first time, I always double check, as you can see on this, make sure that, you know, the airbrush is working correctly. Just do a couple of daggers, a couple of dots, a couple of fading lines, you know, maybe a couple of L's. Everything looks good, so important. So Blind Symmetry, it's good to see you. So glad you're here. Now, Blind Symmetry, are you Colin? Is this Colin? Because I know Colin does lure painting. I'm not sure. Hey, what's up, Henry? How you been? So good to see ya. Oh, wow. So Henry is the son of one of my fellow alumnus. And so, from Art and Design High School. So glad to see you there. How's your mom, Henry? All right, so what I didn't do yet, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the chat viewer. We'll do that right now. Pull that up. And let's get that chat viewer up here. And let's go ahead and authorize the chat viewer. Everybody knows this is something I have to do. It's the dance I do all the time. So there we go. There you guys are. So you guys can see what, you know, who I'm speaking to, which is good. Now, let me go ahead and put a picture of Dua Lipa. Dua Lipa is such a beautiful lady. And let's see if I can find her. I see a picture of David Bowie, but not Dua Lipa. So I will get that for you. Let's see, add source. media, and let's see if we can find Miss Lipa. So I took a bit of a nap before today's live stream, so just be aware that I'm kind of recovering from that. So there's the picture I'm working from. So doing good, doing bad, not sure. Hey Brad, how's it going? Yes, I did. I did work quite a bit during the week. You know, I wanted to get those fingers coming forward, which is really important, and everything like that. So, uh, and you know, you want to get that hand coming forward. You want to get, you know, her lips going back and also her mouth with a little bit of, you know, going further into space. So those are things that you definitely want to achieve. So that's what my thinking was. Thank you, John. John says looks amazing, and so I'm so glad that Henry is here. Uh, so getting ready for her exhibit that opens tomorrow. So Henry, tell me, does she have an oh, your mom's exhibit? Oh, okay, cool. So yes, I gotta look into that. That is so great. Okay, so Michelle is Henry's mom, and we went to Art and Design High School together, and that's how we know each other. Hey, Mama, how you doing, Mama Llama? Good to see ya. Patrick, how you doing? I'm so glad you're here. Uh, all the way from Montreal, and we have a couple of Canadians today. Love my Canadians, and John Diekman is here. John is from Wisconsin, and so is Colette. So we have a little Wisconsin connection here. Uh, let's see, in Florida we have Henry from Florida. So, you know, I love talking to you guys and girls from different parts of the country, you know? And let's say different parts of the world, too. Best city, Montreal. Well, I gotta visit Montreal after this is all over. Definitely want to see. I want to go to Manitoba, where Brad is from as well. So, I'm gonna open my Pure Ref. You guys can't see Pure Ref, but I'm gonna open it up, and it brings up a picture of Dua Lipa, so I can basically see more detail on the screen. It's really great. So right now, it looks like we have 22 concurrent viewers already. Isn't that great? 22 already. Oh my God, I was thirsty. I just drank 16 ounces of water. Wow. Okay. Gonna have to go to the bathroom before the live stream's over. I can see that happening in my future. So, all right. So, always want to look and assess your painting when you first start. And remember, we're in the light mixture, so we're still making things round, right? So, looking at what's happening, and if you ever want to know where the light is coming from, always look at the cast shadows, right? So in looking at this particular painting, I can see that with this finger here, you see how the cast shadow is basically a little bit above and casting to the left. So that means the cast shadow is maybe a little bit above her head. The light source is a little bit above her head, in front of her, but to the right. So anything that is in front of her to the right, that and a little bit higher, and that's where the light source is going to be coming from. Oh, Angel said that Wisconsin is a beautiful place for fishing. That's really great. Oh, fantastic. A lot of friends from Wisconsin, so really good. And also, Wisconsin has good cheese. Is that they always say that, but is the cheese really that much better in Wisconsin? But you guys can tell me. All right, so the light is coming from the right, and two and a little bit higher. So that means that we need more of a cast shadow here on the side of the nose. Well, not just form shadow on the side of the nose. So you see how I'm actually going to do that right now. Is I'm going to make sure I have more of the turning of the nose away from that light source. And then over here, I'm going to make sure that I pull that nose up further. Just like so. And so now I want to go ahead and I want to shape this area right here. And I could show you right here as I make, you see right here on her eye to the right, just between the corner of the eye to the right and sort of where the nose, the form of the nose, kind of meets that. There's like a little space. And if I could show you right over here, I want to make sure I get that correctly. So I'm going to use my glasses, wear my glasses for this one. And we are going to, remember it looks like a line, but it isn't. It's either a cast shadow or a form shadow. Or a light or a highlight. So there are no lines in form. Now things can look like a line because the form is very thin in that area. However, hey Zavi, good to see you. How are you, my friend? And so glad. And Zavi bought one of the Extreme Patriot arrows. So such an honor that he's using one of them. So you see how it's so important if we zoom in to get these little subtleties of form, right? See, it's just the most subtle thing you ever saw. And it looks, and believe me, it looks like a line, but it really isn't. It's actually a form shadow, okay? And what we're going to do now is we are going to reinforce this idea of these angles of these different forms as they move up and next to one another. Here we have some pencil lines, so always use the least aggressive pencil line, least aggressive eraser as possible, right? It's always in your best interest. And since we did this with pencil, the initial drawing, we're not worried about. Okay. And let that dry before we go in there. And let's work on this here. This area right here, such an area of subtlety. It's really important, you know. And oh no, you're doing great, Zavi. So I'm so glad that you know you're using it. It's an honor. And oh, did I get all of my T-shirts? Today I did purchase some T-shirts to make for the design, and the one I'm wearing right now is the first. But the first one, the first person who bought my Extreme Patriot Arrow T-shirt, Go Extreme or Go Home, is Brad. So thank you, Brad, for jumping on board so fast. I really appreciate that. Definitely. So you see how we can shape this here? We can shape this light and this shadow. And we don't have to be in a huge hurry here. We can get rid of anything, any of those pencil lines can go away. There we go. Now, if you do see some pencil lines that do hang out, I don't want you to go crazy over that. because what happens is as we paint during the course of the painting, everything is darker around it. They just go away anyway, but you can see we're successfully getting rid of them, which is good. The material of the gray paper is smooth canvas or special paper? Yes, this paper, good question. This paper is Colorline paper by Canson. It is 184 pounds or 300 GSM. I cut it to A4 size, which is 8.5 by 11 more or less. And it's great. There's a rough side and a smooth side. So I like using the smooth side. It's really a lot of fun to work with. So if you haven't, I highly recommend it. Haven't tried it. It's available at Dick Blick or on my website. You can purchase 5 sheets, I believe, for around $6, which is a really good value. I already cut it to the 8.5 by 11 for you, which is great. So when you get it, you're all set and ready to paint, which is perfect. Reason is this is fine art paper. You know, it's basically, it has a nice tooth to it, so it takes to the ink perfectly, and it's 184 pounds, so you can beat it up without worrying about destroying the surface. It is paper, so you don't want to go crazy with it, but still, as far as paper goes, you can do a lot to it. See, I'm really digging in there, so really pretty cool. There we go, just working on her eyebrow a little bit. So this is not really tight detail. I'm really working on this shape of the eyebrow, which is very important here. I'm just cleaning things up, you know, that's what we really want to do, is clean things up as we go. And remember, what we do on one eye, we're going to do on the other. But let's see if we can clean up this here. And looks like we're doing pretty good cleaning up those pencil lines, which is nice. So just making things nice and neat, or as best as we can do for right now. So basically, how I'm going to work is how I work in the studio. I work fast and I move around a lot. So those are things that, you know, I think it's good for you to see. When I was at the National Academy School of Fine Arts, I studied with Harvey Dinnerstein, just one of the most amazing American painters ever. And once a year, he would do a demonstration, and you actually had the pleasure to sit behind him as he painted. And I'll tell you, that was just so amazing. Just a great honor to see him work. And so I want to do that, sort of. Really, you guys have the experience of looking over my shoulder. And if you have any questions, if I miss them, just ask again, okay? So that's cool. The t-shirts are about $23 plus shipping. Hey, Zavi, yes, the t-shirts are $21.95 and $5.99 shipping, which is really great. And they are on paintingglyphs.com. Thank you so much for asking, Zavi. I appreciate that. And thank you, Brad, for the help. I appreciate that. So cool. And that's cool, so thank you for that, Brad. Okay, just getting my airbrush in shape here. Just calibrating. I didn't work today in airbrush, so doing other things. But as you can see, we're doing pretty good. So once in a while you might have to, you know, when you first work during the day, you may have to adjust. You might not have put it together correctly when you were cleaning it. So you might have to adjust a little bit, as I just did. But you can see the amazing detail that I'm able to get here. And we just clean this up. Oh, since Angel says he can't find in gray, can prime spray in gray? Um, Now the pebble, if you don't have the pebble gray in the color line, you can use another color. It's on the bluish side, light gray, which is pretty good. So that's pretty fantastic. Uh, and Zavi says yes. Zavi asks, do I always start with the light ink? Always, you know. Always start the painting in light gray, and always start almost every painting session except for the very end of the painting in light gray. So great question. You know, like I mentioned, when I mentioned a lot, like a relief pitcher in baseball, he's not going to start the day throwing, you know, 90-mile-an-hour fastballs. He's going to throw very slow, and he's going to ease into his pitching day. And I think the same thing with us is that we want to ease into our painting day, right? You don't want to go in just, like a cowboy, guns blazing. You want to make sure that you get reacclimated and just, get your bearings and just warm up. You owe it yourself just to warm up. And this is the best way to do it. Remember, when you go too dark in the beginning, you have nowhere to go. So even in the beginning of a painting session, you want to definitely go slow and deliberate. So whether I'm in week 1 or week 10, I'm still going really, really slow, right? So, and really, really light. Very, very important. Now, you do see that there are some pencil lines, and we're going to use our eraser. And we're just going to lightly get rid of some of those pencil lines. And as we're doing that, it's a great time to get some texture. So let's do that. And wow, thank you, Willie. Willie says that she's looking great already. That makes me feel good. I appreciate the encouragement, sir. Like I always say, we're painting the light and not the likeness. We are painting the likeness, but that's not our main focus. So most of my live streams usually last about 6 to 7 weeks. And I don't really worry about likeness until maybe about week 5. Does likeness become a concern? Because we have to put all the values in. We have to make all the forms, separate forms turn, like the forehead and the nose and everything, and that takes time. We can only address one thing at a time. We address it slowly and bring it up together, but we really can only address one thing at a time, right? We can't do more than, we can't be 2 places at once, so we have to just be 1 place at a time. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue working on her beautiful eyebrow there. Go. Since we're here, why don't I'm going to increase my distance because it gets much lighter than here, so you'll see my distance increases quite dramatically too. Let's see if I go here. Okay, so you see this is the distance I'll be when I was doing that, doing her eyebrow, right? Real close. So now I want to do the shadow next. So I probably will be even further out here, maybe about 2 inches away. And then I could lightly, just slowly pull back that trigger. So remember, distance is your friend. Distance is going to do everything you want it to do. So you want to keep that in mind. And let's see. So Brad says the light gray is pretty good. He's learned the hard way. Pebble gray is best for the system. I agree. But light gray still is good. They both have their advantages, right? Zavi says the class I offer is $300 for 18 hours of instruction. Is that enough to finish a painting? Anyone who's, Zavi, it really is, but I actually will go ahead and finish 2 paintings with the student, which is really great. So it always goes over the 18 hours. I'm a really good friend and not such a good businessman, so I always go over the 2 hours. So don't worry about. I always go over the 18 hours. Has anyone taken my class? So basically, that's a loose, Savi. That's a loose. It's really loose on the light side. It usually goes much more than the 18 hours. I always try and do 2 paintings with a student from beginning to end. And if that falls outside the 18 hours, there's no extra charge. So isn't that cool? So that's something that I think I offer that, is not out there. So I hope you guys take advantage of it if you can, because I don't know how much longer I can do it with the time constraints, offer it. So now's the time. You really learn a lot of things. Some of the things that I do teach, are, how to see light and shade, how to decipher edges, and how to get airbrush control. That's one of the things I really stress in my classes is airbrush control and how important that really is. And it really, you can control the airbrush. You can do anything, with the airbrush. You can do lettering, you can do cars, and I really feel that's why the inks are so important, because all you're worrying about is controlling the airbrush. You're not worrying about all these different mediums and reducers. That really does complicate things. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to really be one of the best control airbrush artists. And as you see, I just did that really fine line right there on the eye. So I can go ahead and shape this eyelid, as you can see. Just like so. And little by little, we're going to really start to get tight detail. But we're in no hurry. With this technique that I'm doing, it's a very deliberate, time consuming, but at the end, you have that control that you can actually do things on your own. So one of the things I really stress is artists excelling on their own, outside of my classroom. So when you do leave and go on your own, you're going to have a lot more tools in your arsenal to go ahead and attack every painting that you do. So yeah, definitely I can zoom in. Oh, well, thank you, Colette. That's really, really nice. And thank you, John. Those are, Colette and John are 2 of my students, and so is Brad. So you guys are great. Thank you for the, words of encouragement there. I don't take them lightly. I really appreciate that. Okay, so as you can see, we're working on her eye here. And if I want a nice softer edge, all I have to do is increase my distance. Oh yes, Brad is in my mentorship program. So yeah, he's been sticking with me for a year and a half now, and his work is really showing it. Yes, so that's great. And Mickey says, yes, actually caught the live stream. Love, thank you, Mickey. I appreciate that. And Lee says, sorry, he has to run. It's 3 a.m. Hey, Lee, thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate that. I'm gonna keep this live stream on my YouTube channel so you can watch it rest later. So thank you so much, Lee, and great to see you. So right here, the dark kind of continues. Now remember, we're working in a light mixture, so things are going to get extremely darker. So just move right around here. So we do have some pencil lines to contend with here that I think are going to get in the way. And let's go ahead and just loosely get rid of them. Now we'll come in with some beautiful eyelashes. It is a little premature if I'm working on my own for eyelashes, but I just want to show you, you do a dot and then a dagger. See that? You would do a dot and then a dagger, just like so. A dot and then a dagger. And that's how you would get beautiful eyelashes. A dot and then a dagger, just like so. And then we can get, of course, our aggressive eraser and try to get rid of those pencil lines that are around. Just like that, get rid of them. They're in the way right now. So sometimes guidelines are great, like training wheels, but after you can ride that bike, you got to get those training wheels off, right? Yes, some of the work Brad has on his YouTube channel, not his YouTube channel, but his Facebook page. It's really great. So my interview with Mr. Drew Blair is on Drew Blair's web page now, Facebook page, which is really exciting. So a lot more people are able to see it now. Has over 11, almost 1,200 views as we speak. So I'm excited about that. So many people are, just know what a great artist Drew is. And I'll tell you, it was just an honor to hang out with Drew and just talk about art and talk about his career. I'll tell you, it was one of the highlights, one of my highlights in life was to get to go ahead and just talk to him and learn about, Drew the man, It was really cool. So if you get a chance on my YouTube channel, check out the interview I did with Mr. Drew Blair. There we go. So you see how we're working on her eye. Now to the iris. And remember, when you want to do really cool eyelashes, you do a dot and then a dagger. See that? See that dot and a dagger. A dot and then a dagger. And you get these beautiful, beautiful eyelashes. A dot, 1 second roll, and a little dagger, just like so. Pretty neat. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what we can do on eye number 2. So just zoom out and see how that eye is looking. So she has on a lot of mascara, so that's why, everything is sort of looking dark around her eyes, but it's the way her makeup artist did her makeup that day. And Oh yes. So Ted said Jacobs is amazing. What Zavi is mentioning. Hey Patty, how you doing? Ted said Jacobs taught at the Art Students League when I studied there. I studied at the Art Students League with George Passantino for a short time, and I wanted to take Ted said Jacobs' class, but I believe it was full at the time. Now Ted said Jacobs did the book called Light for the Artist. And if you haven't, definitely recommend you getting that book. It's just really incredible. And his student, Anthony Ryder, did the book, The Complete Guide to Figure Painting by Anthony Ryder, which is really fantastic. Two books I highly recommend. And I did a video about those two books. So, yeah, I would love to do an interview with Mr. Jacobs. Maybe even a book with Anthony Ryder. I should reach out to him, right? That's for sure. So that would be great. Yeah, two very inspirational books. I'm an artist for many, many years. I'm not going to say how many years because I just don't want to. But those books I read a couple times a year, those two books. And every time I read it, my art gets sharper. It's like going to boot camp for, seeing light and shade, and especially working with, portraits. It's really great. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on some detail on the eye on the right. Let's do that together. Let's see. Okay. Now you're going to see little imperfections here when it's blown up. That's just the nature of the beast when you blow it up. You don't see that with the normal eye. But I just wanted to blow it up to show you guys, what I look for. There we go. Okay, let's see if I can blow it up even more. Wow, look at that. 3D coming at you. All right. All right. So once again, we're going to work on the dark of the eye. I lowered the air pressure with the pack valve on the Extreme Patriot Arrow, which is really great. You can do micro detail with that. Really great. And now, let's see. Angel says, Tim, your eraser is rough or rubbery, so it will not damage the paper. Actually, this is one of the more extreme aggressive erasers. But the thing is, no matter how extreme the eraser is, the lighter the pressure, you can turn that into a soft, kneaded eraser. So pressure is always something that you want to always, like anything else, just like airbrush, you know how much distance you are, and air pressure determines the application. And I think everything, whether it's in pencil or eraser, always change the pressure, and you'll always change the application. So great question, Angel. And Willie says, does anyone know how Wendy is doing? I spoke to her not too long ago. She just did a really good, she just finished a illustration for a novel, which I thought was really great. She was doing digital painting, so kudos to Wendy. Very exciting. So, there's a lot going on the lower eyelid there. So that's what we're going, like her mascara. Let's go ahead and work on that. So one of the things I say is that you definitely can get like really micron-like detail with this airbrush. And remember, things might look linear, but they're really not linear. What's going on is that you'll see is that rather than being linear, it really is the turning of the form, but you're only seeing it obliquely, and that's why it looks like a line. But it's very rare that you're seeing any kind of line in form. Okay, so you're still looking for things to turn. Yes, Brad's work is amazing. So thank you for that, uh, Zavi. I appreciate that. Yeah, Brad's doing some great things, and John's doing some great things. He's one of my students, and Colette is just so proud of you guys and girls. One second rule keeps us honest, right? Keeps our mind in the game here. And that's what we want. We do have a little bit of overspray, and let's just very lightly get rid of it. Just very lightly. And you know, this is probably the most aggressive eraser you can buy. Actually, you can't buy it because they're not available. These are typewriter erasers. If you're lucky enough to find some, definitely purchase. This is the Venus Type E, the Type Erase 605. Now on my website, I sell something very similar. That is the Single X. And I do carry these, but you can't buy them in stores or anywhere. So if you're looking, definitely. Oh, and Todd actually purchased. I appreciate it. The Extreme Patriot Arrow. It arrived, I think, on Saturday, and Todd is liking it already. So really very happy about that. And so it's very exciting. You know, now that a lot of people have them, I've been selling them for like a month. No, like a couple of months now, and so people are really getting used to them, which is great. Because like anything else, like an airbrush, it's you know, you like a good pair of shoes. You just have to. It has to become part of you. You have to get used to it. But when I got used to the Extreme Patriot Arrow, I never went back. I sold all my microns, and I had two of them. I had the side feed and the C cup. So yeah, they went. I was like, you know, sorry Iwata. I'm just gonna do this now. It's much less expensive. I can get several for the price of, I can get three Extreme Patriot Arrows for the price. So for the price of a custom micron, which is really cool, this is what you can get. You can get this one. This is the main version, Extreme Patriot, customized Extreme Patriot Arrow. You can get the large cup, customized Extreme Patriot Arrow, and that's for a larger painting. And then you can get this airbrush, which is the Vega 1000 for backgrounds. It has the large needle nozzle combination, so you get that great atomization. It's really fantastic. And let's see. So Blind Symmetry Lore Painting says, what modifications do you do to the Extreme Patriot Arrow? It's on my website, but I'll explain some of it for you. Great question there, sir. So one of the things I do is I put a spring on the pack valve. And what that does, it allows you for finer micro adjustments of the precision air valve right there. I also go ahead and change out the needle and I polish it. And then I go ahead and change the backing for better access. Let's see if I can lighten that. So I change out the back for better access to the needle. So you see I can get to the needle really quick, pull it out for cleaning, for any kind of tip dry that might happen. Tip dry happens a lot less when it comes to using my inks, by the way, but definitely if I wanted to just soften the loosen the chucking nut, I can just twirl that. Sometimes there's dryness there, I can just twirl it and tighten it back up. 1, 2, 3. The other backing, that's impossible to do. So I work about 6 to 8 hours a day, and I've been doing this airbrush for 2 years now. So yes, so all those hours I just said this is a great, and one of the more important things, I change out the trigger. It comes with the high roller trigger. I pop that out and put in a more comfortable Sotar trigger, very comfortable for the fingers. One of the great things I do when you do purchase my Extreme Patriot Arrow is I go ahead and test it. So I put it together and then I test it. I do dots and dagger strokes. I work on a painting for a little bit, making sure that before the airbrush leaves me, it's as good as the one that I would use, that I would be happy that the airbrush I'm sending out to you would be my own airbrush. So with the precision that I get, I give that to you. It's not just, like I think Iwata, what they do is they just go like this. They do a circle and that's it, and it's tested. Well, that's not good enough for me. When I test out the airbrushes that you purchase from me, I make sure I put it through every single test possible. And I actually work on a little painting, work on my painting a little bit with it. So this way I know if it does everything I wanted to do, hopefully it'll do everything that you wanted to do. Patty has one of my airbrushes, and she said it's amazing. Thank you, Patty. I appreciate that. And oh, great, yes. So Zavi says he bought two arrow needles for the cost of one Iwata needle. So true, And yeah, the parts are they're very, very pricey. I just have to say, as far as Iwata parts. But these are very low in price, which are great, So that is really cool. And so yeah, Patty bought one of these. I'm so thankful and honored that you're using them. And Brad says his custom brush from me is his #1 brush. Yes, I broke it in for you. That's true. Willie has one too, and thank you, Willie, for that. Honor that you are using my airbrush, sir. And so John says he hasn't touched his other brushes in months. See, this is all very, very good testimony. I sold it to an artist in Sweden early in the month, and he just wrote me, and he was very happy with it. He showed me this painting he did, and it was really nice. So yeah, I mean, of course I'm always nervous that it's going to arrive there in good condition, I'm just human. But, shipping, some things happen, but like I always say, I guarantee everything. If it arrives damaged, I replace it. If you don't like it, I give you a full refund. So, how I would want to be treated customer service wise, that's how I will treat you guys if you do purchase from me. But I'm so excited when it does work out and you guys love it. That makes me happy. Really does. And of course, now you're working with an airbrush that is so much less expensive than comparable airbrushes that do the same thing. So that's very exciting. And just very lightly, I'm just going to work on the eyebrows here, eyelashes. And of course, so things are going to get much darker as we go, but right now we're just concentrating on these eyes. Thank you, Patty and John. I appreciate that. And Zavi says, the Badger does spray super fine. Wow, thank you. Then as tight as your GSI, that's saying a lot. And Pablo, how you doing? Thank you, sir. And thank you so much, Patrick. I appreciate that. Remember, when we're doing eyelashes, it's a dot and a dagger. A dot and a dagger. See that, guys? A dot and a dagger. And we get super tight detail. And we're going to come in later. Remember, this is still early going into painting, so we're not going to go too crazy. but we are going to look to make some of these forms turn here. And the 1 second rule is going to keep us honest. Let's see. Alright, so now we can see, we can move out here and see how they're going. Yes, so those eyes are looking very dark, but that's okay because everything else around those eyes are very, very light, okay? So let's just continue moving down here. So we work there. Let's move down and see where we could. Let's look and see first where we might be neglecting an area, right? Yes, Pablo, I definitely am. I'm using my customized Extreme Patriot arrow. Thanks for asking. And so David says, Tim, have you ever accidentally hit the needle on your painting? Yeah, I just did that actually I dropped my airbrush and bent my needle to like a 45-degree angle. So that was fun. So here's something. So let's say you bend your needle to a 45-degree angle. And, you know, because what I would do is I would just take some wire cutters and I would cut it straight, you know, cut where it bends and just take it out that way. I would never try to force a bent needle through the airbrush because you can damage it. And that's just something that I do. Hopefully that will help you. And Pablo says, are you using? Yes, I am using the Extreme Patriot arrow. So, thanks for that great question, guys. So I want to make this nose sort of turn in space. She has a very interesting and cute nose. And I just want to remember it's a three-dimensional form, so we have to make sure that when things are turning away from the light, there's shadow. Relative shadow as it's going towards the light and away from the light. And then also in the light area where it's facing the light the most, it's going to get the most light and dark. Let's lower this contrast just a little bit, okay. So right here near her Cupid's bow off to the side, you'll see there's some subtle light and shade happening. And it's our job to really catch that. We have to make that nose turn. That nose is just important as the eyes because it's being affected by the light and shade in the same way. It's in that universe, right? And, oh, thank you, Pablo. Pablo says he's seen my web store. Oh, fantastic. The online classes are one-on-one. I'm still doing the one-on-one classes, which is really good. That's 2 paintings with me from start to finish. It usually goes well over the 18 hours, something to definitely think about. And Colette says, yes, the t-shirt's really a lot of fun. I do enjoy, I am so excited about the t-shirt. And I'm going to offer all different kinds of t-shirts throughout the year with different things that we as airbrush artists really would love. Because, you know, the reason why I came out with the t-shirts is as an airbrush artist myself, I really don't have the opportunity except with you wonderful people to talk about airbrush. You know, I start talking about airbrush to civilians, so to speak, and they kind of look at me like, okay, you know. So with the t-shirt, right, with this t-shirt that I have now, I can, you know, basically say, you know, I walk around the store and they can say, what is that? And like my mom was like, is that a gun? You know, and I'm like, yeah, it's this type of gun, because a lot of people haven't seen an airbrush before. So if I'm going to a party or even, you know, maybe to the library, people might say, what is that? And just an opportunity to just say, hey, it's an airbrush and I work with an airbrush, and get them like really show them something visual rather than say, hey, I'm an airbrush artist, because they think maybe I'm working with a big gun, working on cars or something. So that's pretty cool. So that's one of the reasons, we as airbrush artists always want to talk about airbrushing, right? But we rarely have an opportunity to really discuss it. Hey, what's up there, Roy? Color Graphics, thank you so much. So good to see ya. Roy is one of my students, and he's doing some great things. So glad to see you, Roy. And let's make me smaller. Yeah, that's yay, Tim Smaller. Get him out of here. That's exactly. I have to always make myself smaller. If I was this really good-looking Adonis guy, then I'd make myself bigger. But alas, I'm not. So thank you so much, Pablo. And Angel says, Tim, your years of experience has made you an eagle eye for detail. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that so much. That is such a great compliment and encouragement, Angel. Thank you. And so we're just going to continue moving down. So we want to make her nose. So if I make it big here, you see, it's not just a nose. There's a lot of things turning here, going towards the light, turning away from the light. We have a cast shadow here. So all those different things we really need to address, right? And if we address them, I think it's going to be important to, realizing a three-dimensional form and just do work that is out of the ordinary. Because a lot of artists, they don't really go to that extreme. No pun intended, right? So let's see. So let's continue. So we have the cast shadow of her nose, which is a little bit different than the form shadow, which is right here. See that? There's a form shadow and a cast shadow. They are different. They have different qualities. And it's always good to look for those different shadows throughout your painting. Go, and we're just going to continue the ball of her nose. That's cute, but that's another three-dimensional form that we have to really work to see and then to translate into our painting. Okay, very, very important. Things look very complicated and detailed, but we'll get there. So that's why we're not worried about likeness right now, guys. We're just worried about light. We're painting the lightness, not the likeness. We're sort of like light detectives, right? What's the MO? What did it do during this photo? How is the light acting when it was, going over the form? Hey, Wendy, a lot of people asking about you. How are you? Thank you so much. And just ever so lightly, we're going to the bottom part of her nose. With the bottom part of her nose, a lot of times the bottom part of the nose is the shadow, but in this particular picture, this particular pose, the bottom part of her nose is actually getting light. Remember, whatever's facing the light in different degrees is going to be getting more light. Whatever's not facing the light in different degrees is going to be getting less light. So I'm just going to continue beating on that drum, as you know. That's just how I do it. I just talk about principles and going over principles. Principles are so important in painting because it gives you a roadmap of how you are looking at the forms and painting as you go very slowly. Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that so much. And so, Wendy, I was talking about your exploits into book illustration, and you finished it. That's so great. And let's go ahead and work on this fingernail here. So you see I could basically do things without a freehand shield. Just tiny daggers. Just like so. And then the bed of her nail here, we see I'm going to be a good distance away. And I'm just going to establish the bed of her nail. Remember, 1 second rule is always going to help us, right? And then right behind that finger is the dark of her mouth. I'm going to put that in, just like so. And then this finger here. Dark of that finger. And then just varying degrees of light and shadow. Now, this is really cool. Look at the beautiful cast shadow that's going on her lip there, of her fingernail. Let's address that. I keep my air on when I'm painting because it just gives you more control. Keeping the air on is important because I'm not worrying about pushing down the air as well as pulling back on the trigger. I'm rocking that trigger back and forth. I'm looking for a second, then painting for a second. I'm looking at the shape of the lips here, and the cast shadow of the lip, and then the form shadow of the lip. I'm still very light with the light mixture. Everything's going to be much darker down the line. So, I'm not trying to build Rome in a day, but I am trying to talk to the architect and, see if I could get things rolling in the right direction, right? And then again, the cast shadow of the finger on the lower lip, see that? We're going to work that. There we go. And then let's zoom out and see what we have. Oh, we can do a little more before that on this nose here. So that nose, we haven't even done anything with erasing yet and with the white pastel, but you can see the nose is starting to come together, which is very important. Let's lighten that up just a little tad. There we go. And let's see what questions I did miss here. Let's see. So Wendy says she made this story. Let's see over here. She made the story like The Princess Bride, so use the illustrations like a book. That's great. That's fantastic. And so really cool. And so that's fantastic. And Zavi says, if a person painted a big black splotch by mistake with ink on canson paper, can it be repaired? There is a painting that I did a couple of years back. I think Willie was a part of it. We're talking like 2018 or late 2017, where I was working in this method, one of the first paintings I did in this method, and it was of, who was it? Natalie Wood. And I spilled a little bit of ink, like over here, and I was able to blot it and fix it. There was also a time where I spilled water on that same painting. And what I did was quickly got a rag and I just blotted it and didn't do anything and let it dry, and it actually repaired itself. So I actually will attribute that, the ability to fix it, to the fact that, it's 184-pound paper, So I didn't have color line at the time. I used the color line. No, I used the De La Rowney Canford cardstock by De La Rowney, and that was really thick. I think that was like 140 pounds. But yeah, it saved the day, you know. So that's really important. Sanded eraser. Okay, yeah. So yeah. Actually, Willie was part of that, and so you can. One time, I was working on color painting using golden paints, and I know sometimes this happened to you where you might the day before when you, and this is why I do a lot of things differently. When you cleaned your airbrush, you didn't put the needle all the way back. So early in the morning, I got up and I went ahead and put in, I think it was like a fleshy red, fleshy color. And I went to my airbrush, put down the trigger. The needle was way back, so it went right on the painting. Oh my God, the painting was probably about 85% finished. And the first thing I did was just, in disbelief, like, what just happened? But then I realized it's an acrylic, and I just took a rag and just wiped it right off. So it didn't have time to dry. So there are things you can do to save your paintings. But I say that to say this. One of the things that you can do, which I find is really great, when you're working in this method where we're working in transparency and we're building up slowly. So, and Brad can attest to this. So let's say you go too dark somewhere. Well, your first thing is, oh my God, I gotta erase it. But what we have to do is just relax and just realize that even though it looks dark and the mistake looks horrible right now, down the line as we get more and more tone around it and the painting starts to build darkness, what looks dark is basically going to disappear. So one of the most important things in working this method, when you do make a mistake, just realize that in the early going it's very fixable, right? Extremely fixable, so no worries. You know, just like when you're working and you're painting and I'm like, oh, that nose came out really well, just realize that it's early in the game. That's going to be painted darker and darker as I get darker and darker with the rest of the painting. It's all relative value, right? So that's the important thing. So never get emotional about a mistake. Always assess the situation and know that, if we take our time, we're okay. So take our time with it. Cooler heads always prevail. And we're working on a painting, we're emotional with it. How can you not be emotional about a painting, Tim? And I know, I'm the same way. But if we step back, we're in much better position to save the day, right? That's so important. Okay, so let's go work on that finger. There's an interesting element of that finger I wanted to show you guys. This one right here. Okay, so you see I have this guideline, this pencil guideline, so I'm just going to lighten that up. I know it's still there. And then, her tendon. You guys will be interested to know that there are no muscles in the fingers. How interesting is that? It's all tendons. And the only part of the actual 5 fingers is the thumb. That has a muscle, but all else, it's all tendons and pulleys kind of taking care of that. So you see it, and what we did was now we're just putting in that tendon there. And we're just putting in tone, but we're also looking for the lights and darks. And then we have this finger back here. Let's see if we can work on this finger here. And of course we have her face. And let's zoom down a little bit, scroll down I should say. And let's work on, see, right here is the same zygomatic arch that we see. So let me zoom out. So right here, the same zygomatic arch we see here, but we can't see a lot of it because it's not facing us. But there's still indications of it going on. So that's what we're going to address right now. So let me see if I can zoom in. And we'll address that. Very soft edge. That's why I'm really not using the freehand shield here, because it is kind of soft edge. So, you know, you don't want to go crazy with the freehand shield. You just want to use it when you need it, because then the effects are going to be better, because you're going to have some really nice contrast of soft and hard edges inside the painting. So, and I'm going to work here right underneath the eye. So as you see, when I'm bringing in some mid-tones here, that eye is not looking as dark as it did. And that's what, you know, right now that eye is like, Tim, that's really dark. And I'm like, I know. But the thing is, everything else is going to calm it down when we put in these values. Remember, I increase my distance when I want to get more subtle lights and shadows here. Okay, and let's zoom out here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go make my tea. So we are in hour number 2. So I'm just going to be right back and put on the kettle. What's really cool. Hey, Alexa, come on, I will say. Good to see you. And
I tried to be quick.
uh-oh, so when I said Alexa thought I was speaking to her. Did you hear her? So that's pretty funny. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly make my tea, because the kitchen is just to the left. Be right back. Talks amongst yourselves. Last week you heard the cat. I think there she is. Oh, you hear the cat? There she is. So she always makes her appearance on the live stream. Hi. What? You want treats? I have to give her a treat, otherwise she's a bear. Come on. I know. Here you go. Here's your treat. Here you go. Okay, so when we hear the whistle, that's when I'm going to take another break to actually prepare the tea. So I'm back. So you guys did hear the cat, huh? She is so cute. She is such a cutie. Keeps me company. Okay, so now we're going to make this lip turn, right? Because it's a three-dimensional form in three-dimensional space. So how can we not make her turn, right? And, oh, Patty says her cat Peaches is looking around. That's funny. And Air Todd says that his talks all the time. That's cool. And let's move over here. And let's make these lips turn. And they're darker value too. So one of the things I'm going to do is go ahead and establish this outer perimeter of those lips there, right? We have to establish it. Establish borders. But I think with we have so many borders right now, right? We just want less borders after all this COVID-19 stuff. Borders have become like, you know, and restrictions. I know they're important and everything, not saying anything against it. It's just rough, you know, not being able to be as free as we were before the pandemic. So remember, the light is coming from the right in front of her, slightly above. So everything that is slightly below to the left is actually going, and behind is actually going to get more shadow or absence of light. So we're making, and so when we start, and what's interesting, when we actually start making that lip three-dimensional, we actually feel the cast shadow of the finger, right? We actually feel that. And that's what gives us that feeling of space, you know, in reality, because we actually feel the heat of that lamp. And that's what we're after. Remember, it's the light that we're painting, more so. That's the real star of our paintings. Wendy says I'm the lip master. Thank you, Wendy, as always. Now here, it's a dark, but remember, that's a cast shadow, right? So we have to identify different kinds of shadows, different kinds of light, right? You have your light and your dark light. I always talk about when you paint to actually follow the grain of the skin, follow the grain of the lip as well. Here's a good spot to use a freehand shield, nice hard edge here. Nice hard edge here. Thank you everybody for hanging out with me, whether it's right now live or those who are watching the recording. I really appreciate it, honestly. More than you guys and girls know. Thank you so much, and I just really appreciate it so much. I've done live streams, and Willie can attest, Wendy can attest, where there was like 3 people out there. I've done one live stream when it was just me and one person. I've done live streams when there was nobody during the whole time. And, you know, I'm going to do them anyway, but it's just so much better when there's people here enjoying it, you know? And I hope it doesn't sound trite, but it is, you know, very honest confession or testimony that it does make me happy. And Wendy says, yes, we did when there was only a couple of people, right? But, you know, those are great. These are great times, you know. If it does blow up, it's going to change a little bit. And so, we used to get like maybe 15 concurrent viewers. Now it's between 20 and 30 every week, which is really nice. And it just continues to grow. The word gets out there, you know, that we're having fun. I'm teaching you guys some great technique. And so that's cool. And let's zoom out and see how those lips are looking. Not bad, starting to turn, right? So on this side, we can see that the lips are a bit darker here. So let's make this happen. So we're just gonna put that freehand shield here. Remember, perpendicular and not parallel, right? You guys know, I don't have to tell you, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Perpendicular and not parallel. You have more control, right? You have more control not to cross your edges there. Sometimes when you're doing parallel, you don't realize you'll go right over, create a hard line where there shouldn't be one, and that's just a disaster. A disaster you don't need, right? So there we go. Our lips are starting to turn, which is really, really good. And oh wow, so that's cool. So the second shot went really well. Mr. Roy, I'm so glad to hear that. That's great. Willie got so John said he got his first shot on the 17th. That's cool. And let's see. And John says, don't forget to hit the like button. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. So if you got a moment, just go ahead and hit that like button. Likes always good, tells YouTube that people like the content, and shows it to other like-minded people, and which is really cool. So if you do that, I'd be very appreciative. Just hit that like button. Thank you so much. Wendy says perpendicular is as a 45-degree angle. Well, perpendicular would be at a 90-degree angle. Yeah, so I mean it's not a hard fast rule, as far as the angle, but going away from, not going along the peninsula, but going out from the freehand shield. You get much more when you have much more control. I don't know if you ever tried to follow the contour of the freehand shield. You will get crossed edges, and once that happens, it's just really, really difficult to fix that, So Mickey says, man, buying anything from overseas takes forever to arrive in New Zealand. So you know what's great about New Zealand? I only charge $5.99 for shipping, Mickey. So that's amazing. So think about that. $5.99 from the $5.99 to US. I do that for all my people overseas. They love it. It's a way for me to save you some money. So think about it. If you have any questions, let me know. So Blind Symmetry, great to see you, and I hope to see you next week. And so cool. So I'm going to take a little moment to go and make the tea. You hear that, right? So be right back, guys. I'm making matcha tea, which I hear is very good for immune system. That's what they say. And I'm just going to get a lemon. Meow. What? What? I am the quickest tea maker in the East. I'm telling you. I'm back already. It's like being in the pit of the Indy 500, right? Look how fast that was. Bada bing, bada boom, no problem. And I pass that savings, Mickey, over to you guys because I'm a fellow airbrush artist and I know what it's like, having exorbitant shipping. So I lose some money with my international people. That's okay. I lose money for the domestic because it's always more than $5.99. So my average shipping price domestic is like $8.59. Average shipping international is $24. So like I said, I'm a really good guy. I'm not the best businessman. Remember that. I'm not the best businessman, but I'm a fellow artist and always want to help you guys out first. So that's just how I am. I'm not going to change me. you know. When it comes to business, you know, when you want to do things, you know, that you feel in your heart, it's not always the best business decision. And worth every penny. Thank you, Patty. That's so much. I appreciate that. Almost half, exactly. You know, international, it's like $24. So definitely, um, you know, I'll help you out. But you guys help me out financially too. So, you know, you buy my stuff and, you know, you there are some Patreon people here that go to my Patreon. So, yeah, it all comes back, you know. So, you know, when you give, it comes back. So that's how I see it. You know, you guys, I take care of you guys and girls. You guys take care of me. So Patty says, have a great evening. Patty, I know you got work in the morning. Great to see you. Always a pleasure. I love those little figures that you're painting. They're fantastic. Wonderful, wonderful. And so let's go ahead and so right here when I erased here, it's a little area. For some reason that got darker, but you know, like I always said, that's something that's going to fall into place as we go, so I'm not worried about it. So you have to have that sort of trust that you're going to take care of it as the painting progresses, right? So always know to have patience. Very, very important. And so there's a little bit of a reflected light here on her lip. I just want to establish that. And of course we'll get much more detail down the line. And I want to feather out this dark here so it doesn't look so strong. And maybe shape this mid-tone right over here. Remember, I'm going to increase my distance to get a lighter value, right? So important to increase your distance. Okay. Now, we do have a cast shadow. Let me make that lighter. We do have a cast shadow over here of this finger. You see how this cast shadow is much darker and then this cast shadow is much lighter? That's because what's happening is this cast shadow is much lighter because this finger is further away. When the object is casting a shadow on the other object, if it's further away from that object, the cast shadow is going to be a lot lighter because there's a lot more atmosphere and light bouncing around. So that's why this, because this finger is further away, that cast shadow is much lighter. So I'm going to be much further away to do this cast shadow right here. And we're just going to make sure we get that angle there. So you see that cast shadow that we did? Really cool. We can use our freehand shield and we could just make sure we get that nice edge, perpendicular, not parallel. Now, there's always exceptions to every rule. There's exceptions to the perpendicular, not parallel rule. But in this instance, it's still in effect. Let me go ahead and darken this fingernail here. She has some beautiful manicure, I'll tell you that much. There we go. We're going to get much more succinct with that, so don't worry. Go. And a little bit of the nail bed. Let's zoom in and show you how I'm going to do the nail bed. And just ever so lightly, I'm at a good distance, maybe about 3 inches away. So you see how I'm establishing that? Very super light. We have our eraser, so we can erase some of this, you know, make this shape a little stronger. And you see that? We just did the nail bed. And of course, the nail. And then you see the cast shadow right here. And then you have this strong dark, which is a form shadow underneath the finger here. and then it gets darker under here. So you see how it goes from, this is the dark, and then this has the light, and that's the dark. So this is the dark, that's the light, and then it shifts. This is the dark, that's the light. So that's why the 1 second rule is going to keep you from, continuing it, the finger being dark all the way, all the way down. But it does lighten up. The finger lightens up, and the chin area actually darkens. So they kind of switch places. Increase my distance to get a really soft gradation. See that? Remember we did that tendon? We did this tendon over here on this finger. We did the tendon. Let me see if I can move that over. So remember we did that tendon here? So let's go ahead and address that with this finger. And you can see I'm not being exact, right? I'm paying attention. I'm being exact with my observation. But I'm knowing that, you have to start out loose to get tight down the line. There's a lot of different three-dimensional forms here. See this knuckle? It's a three-dimensional form, so it's being affected by the light and shadow, just like her forehead is, her chin. So we're creating that knuckle, which is it's called stacked form, which is one form on top of another on top of another. But all those forms are still being affected by the light in the same way. Remember, I always say it, I said it earlier, we're light detectives, right? That's what we are. We are just light detectives. So let's zoom out and see what we have here. Oop, we gotta zoom out again. There we go. And let's see. Yes, you don't want to go along the, yeah, exactly. That's where the perpendicular really works well, right? So it's very important. There are times when you're doing hair and whatnot where working perpendicular parallel actually works. But like I said, everything you have, you always have exception to every rule, right? So I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and get rid of some of these pencil lines, like right here on this contour. And so we're going to, and then when we do that, we get rid of some of those pencil lines. We see that the forms are starting to take over, and it gets less linear and becomes more of a painterly approach, right? You have linear, like in cartoons, and then you have a painterly approach. So that's what we're doing right now. We're sort of going from the cartoon to the actual turning of the forms. So we're going from, Hanna-Barbera to Rembrandt. Let's look at it that way. Or today, a lot of these kids, they do those cartoony kind of images in digital art, which is great, but it's a whole different ball game, right? It's a whole different ball game. John, have a good night, sir. Take care. Always a pleasure. I hope to see you next week. Let's see. So, thank you so much. So I didn't even say, where did John said he was leaving? Oh, there you are. Take care, John. Hope you have a great week. Looking forward to talking to you next week. So cool for you to hang out with me. So now, as we get rid of these pencil lines, we're going to reestablish this edge. And it's kind of a, a relative hard edge. So, but we see that it's actually sometimes the edge is darker outside the form, like in this case right here. So we sometimes outside the form is what describes it, not the form itself. So we always ask that question, is the outer form describing the form, or is it the inside that's describing the form? Stuff I learned when I studied at the National Academy School of Fine Arts and the High School of Art and Design, and also with my travels being an artist over the years, and watching the paintings, studying old master paintings at the Met, and this is, where all this information comes from. So you see, it wasn't so much the finger that was causing the contour, but the background is what was causing the contour. Now over here, on this side, you see the chin is light, so the finger, inside the finger is where it's darker, causing that contour. Not causing the contour, but revealing the contour, I should say. Let me take a sip of my tea since I did make it. Let's see if it's good or not. Not bad. Green matcha tea. Very good with lemon. So it's refreshing. And it's supposed to be good for you. Has anyone out there tried matcha tea? Do you really feel that the studies are correct? I went a little crazy here with the dark on the bottom of the lip, I can see, especially over here on this side. So I just got to calm this down here. And you'll see where you need to calm things down. And we just have the midtones. We haven't come in with the dark accents yet or anything like that. So we have a long way to go. A long, long way to go. There we go. We have a long way to go with, working on the forms on the inside, but we'll get there. There's no rush. We're just, now right in here, you can see I can calm down this value here. And each finger has its own little form, right? The finger is not just this flat shape that we get away with early going, right? Look at this pinky compared to the other fingers, right? It's like, wow, Tim, you're getting away with next to nothing there. I am for now. But, eventually I'm going to have to address that, right? So, you see I got rid of the pencil line and started to make that turn. So all those different things you get away with in the early going. So let's look at that finger, the pinky. That little cute pinky over there. Okay, there she is. Now what we're going to do is first let's establish the fingernail, which is the largest tonal shape there. And so we can shape this better, right? Let's shape it. There we go. And like I said, we can get away with some of the transgressions early going, but the more we know, the more we're responsible. Much is owed to those who know. Okay, so we have the finger here, and we have that pencil line. And like training wheels, it's good for a while in the beginning, but once you can have your balance, it has to go, right? So let's work on the nail bed. We did that with the other painting. Just going to very slowly make sure I get my bearings as far as, the pressure and the application of the ink with the airbrush. Just like so. And let that dry before I adjust it, okay? Just got to let that dry before I adjust it. And then, and then we're asking ourselves, the finger, comes forward. And how is the contour revealing itself? Is it revealing itself by being lighter than what's behind it? Is it revealing itself by being darker by what's behind it? Right here on the tip, it's revealing itself by being lighter than what's behind it. So let's go ahead and do that by darkening what's around that finger here. See that? So, the contours are revealed by the adjacent values. And so we have to make sure that, with the 1 second rule, we pay attention to that. And again, a much more, I increase my distance when I want to get a much more softer gradated application of the ink or paint, whatever you're using. The same stuff applies. Airbrush is airbrush, right? Colette says it looks fantastic, and so does Brad. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that. That's very encouraging, Thank you so much. So you see how just describing the forms by realizing, where the description is coming from. Is it coming from the form itself, or what's adjacent to the form or outside the form? Right here is the knuckle, has a crease in it. See that crease in the knuckle? We're just going to establish that. See that? We're just establishing that. And then we have an edge dark right there. And then it gets much darker over here. And then you can see that the finger is light, and what's adjacent is causing the revelation of the contour. It's all the study of light, everybody, and I want you to have the study of light in your repertoire. That's really going to take your work to that next level, because you're realizing that it's not a cartoon, it's a painting. So you have to make everything turn in its own way. When I get rid of this pencil line, when it dries, that's when things are really going to take off. So we have to wait for the ink to thoroughly dry on the paper before we go any further with that. So right here, you see the lighter part. We ask ourselves, how do we get the contour of the rest of that? Is it darker outside of that nail, or is it inside the nail? And it's inside the nail. So then we could just, this is where parallel, see that? And then you would get that inner contour right there, not the adjacent. Okay, so I hope that helps. Let's zoom out and see how that's looking. Not bad, fingers looking a little bit better. And over here, which is interesting, you can see the knuckle. Let's see here. Right here on this edge, you see this knuckle come out. It is a thin shadow. It is light. But as you can see, we just have to establish that. We can't get away with, not seeing those things. We can, but our work is just not going to have the courage of our convictions. There we go. So now everything's coming. So you see how this part is very light. So let's go ahead and darken our jacket as it comes down here. Of course, it's a job for the medium mixture, but there's no reason why we can't establish this dark a little bit. And also come back to, let's see, okay, so you see we have this dark here, and these two shapes, the sleeve of her shirt, or her leather jacket I should say, and her hair, the edge is not there, so don't, our minds are like, hey, we have to see that sleeve, but we don't have to see it, because in nature a lot of times contours disappear because they're the same value as what's next to it. And that's really just what's happening. Things are at the same value, and that's why they're disappearing. With the light mixture, you gotta make sure you build up slowly. It's not like being the medium mixture to dark. When you spray, you're gonna get some really nice darks immediately. You definitely don't want to overload the surface, so you go over it a little bit and then you move on, come back. Rome wasn't built in a day. Neither was Little Ferry, right? Little Ferry, New Jersey. Okay. So as you see, as we work today, we're building, right? We're building things on so we can actually build things more on top of it, right? Building blocks. Have a great night, Colette. Always fantastic to see you. Thank you so much. So we have, we're getting to the end of today's live stream. It's a lot of fun painting the beautiful Dua Lipa. And so we're just basically working on some of the larger areas now. When we come back, we're gonna start making her forehead more three-dimensional, paying attention to the anatomy of the forehead. It's not just a plate. There's a lot going on, so we have to definitely address that, right? Okay, so, and let's continue moving down here to this area. Remember, you don't want to stain the surface, so you're going to spray and move, let it dry, go back, spray and move, let it dry. Such an important thing is the whole spray and move, you know. And so you see how we're... And now what a great time to just, you know, start establishing the hair. Remember, you don't want to stain the surface, so just put, you know, an application, then move on, let it dry, come back, right? Bada bing, bada boom. Perpendicular and not parallel when you're doing the contour. So the whole thing, right, is to always look and see what we're neglecting. So we're definitely going to move down here and work on this. That's the next thing, you know. Thank you, John. I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much. And little by little, you know, this was a kind of an interesting painting. I felt it was difficult, you know, because of her eyes with all the makeup on it and stuff, the mascara. It wasn't your typical light and shade kind of old master type painting. But I felt it was a challenge, and I'm really glad that I did. I mean, she's such a beautiful subject. And if I want to get, like, you know, a tight line, I can always decrease my distance from the airbrush to the paper. Now when I'm doing stuff like this, if you're new to airbrushing, go ahead and keep on your little needle guard. You know, it's okay, you know, when you keep on your needle guard, so protect that a little bit. And then as you get a little more confident, then you can remove that needle guard. But, you know, it's no big deal that you have it on there. You know, whatever's comfortable is great. That's my opinion. Up here on the top, you see we don't have the strongest application yet, so perpendicular and not parallel. We'll just apply some more ink and even that out. So I really hope, you know, we're in the last 5 minutes. So I hope you guys and girls really enjoyed this. I enjoyed hanging out with you. And I tried to make it as instructional as possible, having a picture there so you can see what I'm working on. And so, you know, trying to work as if I was working just on my own with no one watching. So you can see the process as real as it is. You know, not doing something in front of you that's different that I do on my own, right? So that's really important. Uh, it's really important for you to get that sort of candid view, right, into my working in my studio. And that's what you get from my classes. We work on the same painting together. I see what you're doing, you see what I'm doing, and I give you pointers, you watch me. I think it's the best way to learn. John says, great live stream. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Next week is part 3. I might have an interview for you guys, but stay tuned. And don't forget this shirt right here. You know, my Go Extreme or Go Home with the Extreme Patriot arrow. You see that? That's so cool. It's on my website, paintedglyphs.com. David, I will contact you by Friday. You have a great night, sir. And thank you so much for hanging out with me. And Wendy, you have a great night. Willie, take care. And we are at 11:27. I always give you guys a full 2 hours, right? Because I'm crazy. A couple weeks ago, I was sick. I was actually, you know, really like out of it. And I still did the live stream. I'm glad I did, you know. So you see how I work on hair? I work on the large shapes first, and then I work on the small shapes. That's what you want to do. You want to, when you're working on hair, forget about its hair, right? I don't want to, you know, I don't want you to think it's hair. I just want you to think of it like a helmet, right? She's wearing a helmet. And if you think of it that way, it's a lot easier. And Avi says, looks great. Thank you so much, Avi. I appreciate that. Mickey says, great watching. Thank you all. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you, Mickey. I'm so glad that you came by and hang out with us tonight. And same thing with you, Todd. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a great night, guys. And Brad, you have a great night. 11:28. So everyone is filing out the door. So I'm just going to continue as you guys are saying good night. And we're just going to just bring this together a little bit on the top so it doesn't look too light. And you can see that value is quite dark. And there are lights in that dark and everything, but we're not worried about that yet. We're just worried about the big shapes, right? That's all we're worried about. Big shapes when we are beginning the hair, right? Big shapes first. Thank you, Willie. Always a pleasure. And I'm so glad to see you. And I hope you have a great rest of the week and a wonderful weekend. So we are at 11:29. And, you know, I'm like those, the band on the Titanic. I'm going to be playing as the live stream goes down. I'm going to be painting till the end. And let's see. So we're still at 11:29, working on the hair. So remember, treat the hair in the beginning like a helmet, and then treat it like hair, right? Treat it like a helmet, then treat it like large areas of light and dark, and then go ahead and treat it like individual hairs, here and there, right? So remember, it's a system. Painting a hair is a system that I learned watching the old masters and from my teachers over the years. So very important, because hair can be daunting, couldn't it? You know, hair could definitely be something that, you know, can be confusing and overwhelming. So with this technique, it's a lot easier. Not necessarily a technique with, you know, painting with India ink, but the technique of just painting and seeing hair and approach to doing it, right? And you see we can come in and bring that dark outside of here. And now you see we're in a good shape to go ahead and start hitting some of those light areas. It's 11:30. That means, guys, have a great weekend. Thank you so much. I have a fast finger. That's true, Todd. Take care, everybody. Always a pleasure. So here she is. And I hope you have a great night. Take care, everybody.